So we are approaching the last week of the Omer. Wow. The 49-day journey from Passover to Shavuot. Today is day 40. And coming up this Thursday night, we'll enter into the last quality, the quality of Malchut, which is what is going to be the subject of our meditation this morning. And Malchut is really the other names for Malchut is Shekhinah, which is the feminine aspect of God. When we say feminine, we mean specifically that aspect of the divine, of the cosmos, of ourselves that is about receptivity, completely being able to be a vessel that is going to be filled. Sometimes other qualities, we are the liquid, some stage of the liquid that's filling the vessel. And here we are just the vessel. We are completely open to experiencing. Another name for Malchut, for this quality, which means kingdom, or it has a lot to do with wholeness and integration. And another name for it is Shabbat. Shabbat is actually associated with the final sphira. It's that receptive place. And really what Malchut is about is, in being wholeness and integration, it's about being present to what we really call in our meditation, as we've been doing it, the divine symphony, right? The divine symphony, when we speak about it in terms of meditation, we're talking about being able to be open to every aspect of our experience and let everything have its place. That whether it's breath, whether it's a sound outside, whether it's a thought that's going on in our head, everything is like an instrument that is playing in the symphony, and we can open to all of it. And one of the things that happens when we really open to all of it, a couple of things. One is that we really get a sense of how everything has its place. How everything has its place, how they actually work together to harmonize this moment. There is an experience of harmony that comes when we are in the awareness of Malchut. And that harmony we can translate to so many different things. When we talk about meditation and paying attention to the moment, it's aspects of the moment that are happening. When it comes into interpersonal relationships, it's really being able to see in a given moment, even in a conflict or even in a difficulty, how our voice, our perspective, the other person's voice and perspective, that everything is coming together in just the right way for what it is now. Now, our minds usually don't see that. Usually, if we're experiencing something that's uncomfortable, we do not think that what's happening is the right way or the right thing or any of it. And yet, there's an awareness that allows us to see in a moment or to experience that it is exactly where we need to be right now and where that other person needs to be. And that and that doesn't mean that we leave it at that with Malchut, but the way that the sphirot work is that the very bottom of the tree, for those of you who have a little Kabbalah knowledge, the tree of life that has all the circles that go down, the very receptive aspect, Malchut, then feeds into the next level of the top of the tree, which is Keter, or crown. So it's not that when we reach Shabbat, let's just say on the end of the week, that we're in this place of appreciating what is, we're feeling the harmony of creation, we're in this receptivity place, that we suddenly stay there. But obviously we do Havdalah on Saturday night, and then we start back into the week to again create and strive and improve. So being able to notice the harmony and the acceptance and the openness in a very real way that we are exactly where we need to be, and where the other person and the other situations are coming in a moment of harmony, then we'll eventually shift into how we need to maybe move or act or address the situation to move it to where it needs to go. But in a given moment, Malchut is so important in that we can completely and utterly feel a sense of perfection in whatever the situation is, how the pieces fit together. So that's the awareness of Malchut. And really that awareness of Malchut, of Shabbat, is one that is, I want to say, is the deep element of hope. It's the deep element of hope because no matter what is going on in our lives, it is so easy to hear the discord. I'm going to stay with this music metaphor for a moment. But when we hear things, to hear discord in the way that the instruments are coming together. And that discord, much of the time, can inspire despair. So the question is when we are able to hear the harmony, to hear the divine symphony in a moment, to feel a sense of how everything has its place, we're given a vision that wholeness can happen on greater and greater levels. And it's a place of inspiring us to take the steps that we need to do in our lives, in our relationships, and in our world that allows us to move things in a deeper sense of integration. So I think that's enough words for right now. Where it really comes down to is the practice, is beginning to open to this moment and the malchut of this moment, the wholeness of this moment. So go ahead and find a comfortable position to sit in, one that you can sit in for 20, 25 minutes, hopefully without moving or adjusting too much. It's okay if you do, but you want to set yourself up for not having to shift as much. Close your eyes and just begin to bring your attention to your breath, to noticing where the air enters the nostrils or the mouth, the way the belly or the chest fills with the inhale. And notice that point where the inhale switches to an exhale, the expansion shifts to the contraction. Noticing that movement of the exhale, then switching back into the inhale, beginning to expand the chest or the belly again on the inhale, and then following the breath out. We're not trying to make our breath more prominent or deeper necessarily. We're just paying attention to the normal cycle, the normal enlivening rhythm of breath that's with us all the time. Then allow some other awareness of some other instruments in the symphony to come in. Become aware of the pressure of the chair or the bed, whatever surface you're sitting or laying upon. On your bottom, notice where your feet meet the surface, the floor. Become aware of the distance between the bottom of your spine and the top of your head. The space between your ears. The way that your arms hang out of your sockets and the resting place of your hands. All of these body sensations, this awareness of body and space, are another layer of instrumentation in the unfolding song of this moment. Let yourself continue to be aware of that, the rhythm of the breath as it moves in and out at the same time that you are aware of all the sensations in your body. And you can let in the sounds that are in your space, whether it's my voice or clocks ticking or sounds outside or in your home. That all of it are other instruments in this symphony, playing right along with the experience of body sensations, of feet on the floor, of distance of your spine, all playing along with the rhythm of breath. Notice how your awareness needs to be so open, not sticking to anything in particular in order to hear the symphony, just present with it all, like an open eye, an open heart that is present to breath and body and sound. There may be thoughts, mental constructions, or pictures that come into your awareness and out. And those are also just instruments in the symphony, just little themes in the song that come in and come out. That's also part of the song. And as you pay attention to all of the instruments that are present in this moment, in this divine symphony, also become aware of the space that surrounds the orchestra. that our awareness, our attention, there is one who is present to this moment. That is not the body. That is not the thoughts. That is not the sounds. There is the one in this moment that is noticing, that is present with the symphony, with the instruments, with the music. We are in relationship with this moment, with the symphony. Who is the we? Who, what is that element of presence that notices? And as we're aware of the instruments of the symphony in this moment, and we begin to sense into the presence with the symphony, we notice that that presence, that attention that is here, has no boundary to it. It's almost as if the orchestra of this moment, this divine symphony, is in the middle of space that goes on endlessly in every direction. An orchestra floating in space. Being with this orchestra and being with the space that surrounds it is Malchut. I'm going to be quiet for a period of time and really invite you to continue to be present with this moment and each moment as you are present with a symphony, being open to and hearing every element of your experience as an instrument that is playing together. And then also sensing into the space that surrounds the symphony, that sense of presence and awareness with this moment. And if you find that your attention has contracted into focusing on one aspect of the symphony, a thought, a body sensation, and your attention is pulled and captivated in the moment, as soon as you're aware that that's where you are, just begin to expand the awareness beyond whatever you were focused on, not pushing it away, but just allowing that instrument, that expression, to just be part of the larger symphony, to expand, to include breath and body and sound and thought and all the space that it floats in. Nai, nai, na, na, nai, nai. Yana, yana. Na, nai, nai, na, na, nai, nai, na, na. Na, nai, nai, na, na, nai, nai, na, na. Na, nai, nai, na, na, nai, nai, na, na. Yai, rai, 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 rai. Yai, rai, 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 rai. Yai, rai, 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 yai, rai, rai. Yai, rai, yai, rai, 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 rai. Na, nai, nai, na, na, nai, nai, na, nai, nai. Na, nai, nai, na, na, nai, nai, na, na. Na, nai, nai, na, na, nai, nai, na, nai, nai. Na, nai, nai, na, na, nai, nai, na, na. Yai, rai, 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 rai. Yai, rai, 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 rai. Yai, rai, 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 yai, rai, rai, rai. Yai, rai, yai, rai, 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 rai. There's a little extra element in the meditation than sometimes we do. Some of us are familiar with this practice of taking our experience in as if it were the divine symphony. But then there's also becoming aware of who's noticing, who's watching the symphony, what's the space that's surrounding all of that, and that's part of the Malchut, that's part of the wholeness. In fact, that might even be looked at as the ground by which all of form is unfolding and transmuting, and every moment to moment. It's a shift in intention, and we're so unaware how on a moment to moment or day to day, our own pictures, our own approaches to the moment or the reality is really constantly coming from a place of gevurah or din, which is judgment, which is kind of being able to already evaluate what parts of our experience or our moments are desirable and what isn't desirable, and how do we maximize what's desirable and minimize what's undesirable. And that becomes our way that we're moving in life. And really, that evaluation, that aspect of gevurah in and of itself, of desirable and undesirable, without an awareness of all of the other divine qualities, sphirot, chesed, of malchut, of all of those things, our judgment and our evaluation becomes very, very limited. It's very limiting to us. And that can be in really just the small ways of, kind of the day-to-day experience in our house or, in our bodies, or it can come in the big ways when we look at what's going on in the world and the things that are difficult, and we have a sense of what's just and what's unjust. And so much, if our gevurah, our judgment, is not being able to be connected and expanded with these other qualities, we miss so much. We miss so much of the nuance and the complexity that our whole world is about. And so this piece of Malchut, of being able to really try to cultivate and bring an element of really letting everything fully be as it is, and trust that in any given moment it has its place, can do wonders to inform our gevurah, in different ways, right? That even in the moment of Malchut, we're not, may not be be as focused on this decision or this, but if you count the Omer, you're going to know that on Friday night is going to be the day of Gevura Sheba Malchut, which means in this whole week of trying to be open to integration and all of that, where does judgment come in? Where's the ability? Are we able to actually judge what is it that keeps us, what is it that keeps us out of our Malchut, of our sense of harmony and connection, and what is the way of being that allows us to be more in? That has a judgment in it to be able to notice that. And then, so all the pieces play themselves out. We can only begin to bring these qualities into our moment to moment when we create more distance between the stimulus and the response, right? You know, so much of our reaction time is like this, and there's no room to be able to shift habitual ways of responding. So slowing it down, creating more space is definitely the way. It's interesting, the Zohar has actually the way it talks about silence is the speaking silence. The speaking silence, that the silence itself is another instrument, right?
Yeah.
The silence itself is another instrument. And the invitation, I think, is when you find yourself maybe resisting, you know, wanting to fill it, wanting to have, I want to have a lot of instruments to pay attention to here, to be able to suddenly become interested in the instrument of silence.
Yeah.
That it's part of that. And maybe even different than the space that surrounds it. Meaning when we're talking about the space that surrounds it, we're talking about that sense of awareness or of presence. You know, who is it that's noticing? You know, like, right, so there's the question of, there's the silence. Is the silence just absence of sound? Or is it its own expression? And what I'm, you know, encouraging to think about is that everything, right? Everything is energy. Everything is alive. Even that experience of silence. So there's the silence itself as an instrument, and then there's the one that is noticing the silence. That's the space that surrounds it. One of the things that I gave the Devar Torah about this last Friday night was a little bit of the tension that some of us experience between how the world is and how we want it to be. You know, in that sometimes it's so difficult to open to the Malchut, the harmony in the moment, because we see so much of what's not harmonizing, what is not all of that, and our anxiety about, and I don't say anxiety in any kind of, you know, punitive or belittling way. Our anxiety about the suffering that is in the world makes it difficult sometimes to really open to and be willing to claim the harmony and be present to the harmony that's in this moment, and to view things this way, because, you know, and part of what we really talked about was Shabbat, right? Shabbat is the practice of Shabbat is the way into that. That's what harmonizes that, the world as it is and the world as we want it to be. Because Shabbat, the teaching, is that this is a taste of the world to come, or the world that is coming. That it's really only our practice of Shabbat, at least in the traditional way, once every week, that gives us, where we really just see and open to the Malchut, to the harmony, to the perfection as it is, because that's what gives us the inspiration throughout the week to work on deeper and deeper levels to bring that to pass, meaning that both are true, that the world is perfect as it is, there is Malchut here, and we are part of a process of tikkun, of repair, that is ongoing, evolving, and our co-creation in creating that vision is also a part of it and also true. So it's a paradox does that, do people, is that paradox alive for anybody as far as being, is it hard to open to Malchut because of the world isn't as we would like it to be? It's a practice. All of this, Shabbat is a practice. It's a practice to continue to, and it's something that as we gather here, you know, weekly, or as you have your own meditation practices or your own Shabbat practices, it's these that really that don't take away from our striving and our creating and trying to make the world be more what we would like it to be, whether that's in our own families or our own communities or our own countries. This practice of Malchut is something that is necessary to give us the juice to keep going for it, right? And to be able to feel like our journey, that our striving has a place and a purpose in the world, just like everything has a place and purpose. We've got to be able to also feel the relevance of our own journey and our own instrument in the divine symphony. And in order for that to actually be a real experience and not just something that's an idea that we're playing with, we've got to be able to begin to experience any moment, the Malchut that's happening in any moment, more and more. And that's what our invitation is, this, especially this kind of last week of the Omer. Okay, thank you everybody